Thanks. First, I want to thank the chairwoman for holding this hearing. I appreciate her focus on the quality of our military and trying to solve this problem with regard to recruiting. Before I get into this, with regard to the nominees, I hope that firstly it's resolved, except for I guess the 4 stars, and I hope that what will happen is we'll go through this process quickly. And I know some people have some concerns, and let's go through them. Let's do cloture. Let's get a vote on them, and so we can get these done as quickly as possible. And I agree with you. If we can get it done before we go off on the holidays, we should.
Good.
I mean, I think
That's bipartisanship. We both want to
Yeah.
get this done.
Yeah.
Our military deserves it.
Yeah. Just to give you guys perspective, this is my first time actually to be a ranking, and the only reason I'm doing this is because we've agreed we're going to work on these issues together. Because it's not there's not an issue in the military that I can find that's a partisan issue. I served in the military. I never thought it was a partisan job. I represent, whoever the president was, that's who I worked for. So, as I said in our first subcommittee hearing of the year, I believe ending the military recruiting crisis should be our top priority. I don't know how we can expect to have a military if we can't solve this recruiting issue. I hope to use this hearing to better understand the scale of the problem and learn what our senior recruiting leadership is doing to improve the situation. I'm a business guy. What you did is you find out what was the best thing working someplace, and you whether it was your competitor or whether you're somebody you worked with, you took the best ideas and you implemented them, whatever you were doing. In fiscal 2023, we know that 3 of our 4 largest military services failed to achieve their recruiting goals, as we talked about, by large margins. The active duty military force missed that goal by 15%. That's 27,000 service members. If you include reserve forces, the shortage increases to nearly 40,000 troops. And if you look at what we've done now over the years, over the last few decades, our reserve force, our National Guards are actually almost active duty now. So they're really important. For context, this amounts to more troops than we currently have stationed in Germany or on the Korean Peninsula. The Army and Navy are in the worst position. Active Army is 30,000 soldiers smaller than it was just 2 years ago. Navy has 12,000 fewer sailors today than it had last year. The only reason these numbers are not worse is because the services are doing everything they possibly can to retain, and they're doing a good job. If you retain currently serving military personnel, but as we all know, that's not sustainable. These changes to the size of our military were not the result of any deliberate reduction in force plan. It's completely recruiting. Our smallest military is now our smaller military is causing serious readiness concerns. To avoid creating a hollow force, the Army is beginning to implement force structure reductions that will affect the Army's ability to respond to the full spectrum of armed conflict. And the world's not getting safer right now, as we all know. The Secretary of the Army has admitted that these force structure decisions are at least in part caused by the recruiting crisis. The shortage of sailors is making it harder for the Navy to adequately man our ships. We are 9,000 sea duty positions short. Ships routinely train for deployment with less than 100% of manning that they need. Ships without enough sailors are less effective and increase the danger to our own ships as well as those around them. I don't know what it's like now, but when I was in, you actually didn't just work an 8-to-5 job. You're already working long hours. I mean, when I was there, the only time we were actually off, you either had off 7 to 12 at night or 12 to 5 in the morning. You were on the rest of the time. So if you have fewer people, I don't know how you're going to solve that problem. If that is not a risk to readiness, I don't know what it is. Given we've got lots of dangers in Asia, Europe, the Middle East, I think it's imperative that the Department of Defense figures this out. Some senior leaders seem to be unwilling to acknowledge the severity of the problem. A year ago, the Secretary of Defense said it is, quote, a priority for me, yet in his posture statement to Congress last spring, the Secretary devoted an entire section to meeting climate crisis, which let's all agree, we want to take care of our climate, but he left the recruiting crisis, he didn't even acknowledge it. So we have to figure this out. You guys are the key to doing this. I think the Army has to be commended for its initiatives to rapidly implement innovative ideas to attract more Americans to serve their country. Thanks for your time yesterday. The Marines continue to prove that it's not impossible to achieve recruiting goals, because you've been doing it all along. I'm a business guy, so in business, every environment's challenging. I mean, I've never had somebody say, oh, it's an easy time to make money, easy time to recruit, easier time to do anything. But it's never in my opinion, it's never impossible to figure this out. So Marines have figured it out. We all have to figure it out. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to underscore that, first off, I still don't get this. 8,500 service members were all involuntarily separated for refusing the COVID vaccine. I hope everybody's going after trying to get these wonderful men and women back in and treating them fairly, giving them proper, if they don't want to come back, making sure you give them the proper discharge orders, and if you can, they ought to come back with pay. Back pay, because I think it was completely unfair. So let me talk about one of my experiences. We get to, all of us, I don't know how many you have already done in yours, but we get a lot of people nominated for these. We get 10, each of us get 10 nominations for the academies. We saw our numbers, my first year, I've been up here 5 years, my first year was pretty good numbers, then start going down. So we put a lot of effort into it this year, and we had a 25% increase. And we did it because we went around to the schools, and we pushed our way in to tell people what the opportunities were. And it's probably the nicest thing I get to do up here. I get to pick, I wish I could pick 100 people, but these kids that want to come serve are just wonderful individuals all across this country. I know everybody is proud of ones that are in their state, but I think everybody loves that opportunity to give these kids the opportunity. So thank you for being here, and I want to thank the chairwoman again for hosting this meeting with me.